Hi everyone. The objective of this video tutorial is to teach you guys how to use Google Sheets to calculate 95% confidence intervals and to also graph the data and add error bars to it using those 95% confidence intervals. And to do this, rather than using your SOBUG data as a demonstration, I'm going to use um, home runs from the A's and the Giants from this season, and we'll compare them. So if you go to your original spreadsheet that I've shared with you, at the bottom you'll notice two tabs. One says SOBUG data and the other says A's and Giants data. And so you can click on that tab, and here's where I've downloaded all of the players and then the home runs for the season. I should add too that this is really a how-to tutorial and not a explanation of why it is that these steps we go through get you the 95% confidence interval. But just bear with this how-to video for now, and wait for AP Stat so that Mr. Davies can explain it to you. So the average is something that I think you guys are all familiar with. So what we're going to do first is we're going to calculate the average number of home runs for each of the players for the A's. And so you just simply say equals average, and then highlight all of the samples. And then for standard deviation, you say equals STDEV, and you highlight all of these samples. And this is a step that's necessary in order to get the 95% confidence interval to calculate this value, standard deviation. And then we want the sample size. And you could just simply look at the number here and count. You can also say equals count, and then highlight, close parentheses. And we're almost there. Now we're at the 95% confidence interval calculation. And if you've noticed over here on the right, I've written these formulas that I've just performed in quotations. You don't include the quotations here. So let's just type equals TINV. This will refer you to this. This pulls from a table called the critical value of T distribution. And what we'll do is we'll say 1 minus 0.95 being the 95% confidence interval, comma, and then we write down what is called degrees of freedom, which is the sample size, so our count, minus 1, close parentheses, and then we multiply this by the standard deviation, and then divide by the square root, SQRT, of the sample size. Okay? And here is our value. It equals 4. Now we'll quickly do the same with the Giants. Equals average here equals STDEV right here equals count right here. And luckily, since everything's the same from this formula from this cell to this one, we can just copy and paste it here. So we have a different 95% confidence interval for the Giants. So now we're at the point where we can graph the data. And what I recommend doing is, if you can, highlight an extra set of cells on the side to the left of the left data point, and from here we'll be able to make our graph. So what you can do is go to Insert, go to Chart, and you can see right away the correct chart is selected. One detail about this, one glitch I'm trying to work out still, but we'll bear with it for now, is if you notice here on the bottom right, you have an option to switch rows and columns. It would be really nice to have labels down under the x-axis for each of those bars. Unfortunately, this, if we try to attempt it with this, it results in a problem when we want to put error bars on here. So we actually want to get rid of that. We want to keep it as it was in the beginning. And for now, we'll just deal with the colors here, which is unfortunately also problematic because when you print it out, if you only have black and white, then it's going to be hard to see. So we'll we'll get around it. So the next step is to simply we're going to customize. Oh, by the way, if you go to here under this data tab, we see that there are all these different choices. Really, the only kinds of graphs you'll probably be doing are the one that was chosen for you, a column graph, and another one called a scatter plot. And the for now, though, since our data is qualitative, we're going to be doing a scatter column graph. Okay. Now, so let's move back up to the top. We're going to hit Customize. We're going to customize our chart. Our chart style, we're not really going to mess with that. Chart and axes titles, this we will add some material to. So under chart title, we can call this Home Run Averages for Oakland A's and SF Giants players, and maybe we can add to that 2017 to 18 season home run averages for these players. Let's just say call it average. And then we can also then change the horizontal axis title, and we'll call this one Team, and in parentheses Oakland A's and SF Giants. And then we'll go to the vertical axis title, and we'll call this average number of home runs. Now, in your graph, whenever you label your axes, you definitely want to have units. So you know what home runs are, but we'll just add that as a unit. So we're done with the chart axis and titles. Now, if we jump to series, this is where we have to be a little careful. What we want to do is we're going to add error bars, but what we want to do is we only want to add error bars to the Oakland A's bar. And this is why that other kind of graph that I showed you earlier is problematic, because it doesn't allow for you to choose where your error bars go. So I'm going to move this up just a little bit so we can see all our data. So let's select the Oakland A's, and then we're going to, we don't want the data labels, but we do want error bars. And what it does is by default it gives you a percent. We want to change it to constant. And for our value, what you want to do is you want to write the value that you see down here under 95% confidence interval. You just type it in as 4. Don't make the mistake of trying to select it, because then it'll, revert you back to the data on the spreadsheet. So that's done for the Oakland A's. Now we want to do the same thing for the Giants. We want to add error bars, and we want to select that 95% confidence interval. I just made that mistake that I told you about. So we're going to edit chart again, go to customize, let's go back to series, let's go to SF Giants. So we want error bars, but we also want to make it a constant, and we want to add 1.97. Daddy. Kai, I can't talk right now. Daddy, and I think we're almost there. If you wanted to, it looks like the vertical axis now begins at 0, which is what we want. So we don't have to modify that, but if you ever do, you could go to vertical axis and change the minimum and the maximum value. But it looks like it corrected it after we added the error bars. So there you have it. Um, you guys can use these formulas right here to help you calculate what you need to do for those same values for your SOBUG data. So you'll have average, standard deviation, sample size, and 95% confidence interval. And you'll actually make a graph with all of this data, with all of the data there. Okay. So I'm going to let you guys get to work on this. Good luck with it. Email me if you have any questions, and I'll see you all on Monday. Have a good weekend.